guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm here at a special filming spot location because guess what? A person that is a Rady's Rides fan, a good friend of mine, and a prominent car collector in the Tampa Bay area, a guy by the name of Michael, has decided to throw me the keys to his new baby. And what the heck is it? It's this car right here. This is a 2024 Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato. But before we get into Lamborghini's first off-road edition of a Huracan, let's talk about what's going on here. Lamborghini, that iconic Italian brand, was created all the way back in 1963. And really the one reason why it was is because Mr. Lamborghini was unhappy with his Ferraris that he was buying from Enzo. So the two of them got into a major argument. Enzo told him to never buy another Ferrari, and Mr. Lamborghini went on to start his own car company. Because before that, Lamborghini, believe it or not, was making farm tractors. Now what's fascinating is that when you look at this off-road version of the Huracan, known as the Sterrato, you would think that this is Lamborghini's first off-road vehicle. It really isn't. That vehicle was the LM002, the 002. That was their luxury SUV in the 1980s, before luxury SUVs were even a thing. That truly is their first off-road vehicle. Now, of course, when it comes to supercars, people are going to think Lamborghini. And it goes back to 1969 with the introduction of the mighty Lamborghini Miura. For me, it's all about Countach and Diablo. That's what I had on my walls, pinned up with those massive size posters. But you know what? The Huracan is a descendant of a vehicle, of a model that actually saved the brand. Lamborghini was going through some very tough financial times over the years. They've actually changed hands quite a bit before finding their permanent spot, their current spot, with Volkswagen Auto Group and Audi Auto Group. The car that saved the brand was the Lamborghini Gallardo. That was the vehicle that this one comes after. So it's interesting to see how they've taken that Huracan setup. They've come out with a lot of different versions of it, the STO, all of the other special models, and now they have this off-road spec. But what I want to find out is, if you're looking for the king of supercars, and I know we could say king as in top speed, king as in 0 to 60, king as in style. If you're looking at all the way around, including the specialness that this Huracan brings, is this the king of supercars? Let's go ahead, let's dive into Michael's 2024 Huracan Sterrato and find out. Right off the bat, the color. Verde Selvins, this is a special color, $14,000 option, and I'm in love with it. Not only am I a fan of Granny Smith apples, especially when you put caramel on top of them, I'm loving the metallic green, like a bright illuminated Granny Smith apple. I just want to take a bite out of this car, and trust me, we are when we go on throttle. Now, when you look at the front, you're going to see that we have these tacked on fender flares. The car is actually wider at the front and the rear, and obviously they needed to do this for two different reasons. First of all, they have a wider wheel and tire package, and second of all, because this is an off-road spec, having these non-painted fender flares is going to take a little bit better beating when you're getting the urge to go do some off-roading in your supercar. Now, one of the things that I like is the exposed torque screws that you have. Just gives it that nice kind of purposeful style to it. And let me know if you're okay with the flat black, or if you would like to have that $14,000 special green also painted on the fenders as well. Now, as we come to the corner area, you're going to have that very seductive style to the Lamborghini lighting. I love all the different veins of turn signal LED lighting and your daytime running lamps. We have projector beam LED headlights. And then down below, you have this metal mesh honeycomb screen that is going to allow you to flow air for all the heat exchangers and for aero work. Now, one of the biggest things that you're going to notice besides the wider Huracan is more ground clearance. So this has about an inch, over an inch and a half. It's about 1.7 inches extra ground clearance, which brings it up to over 6 inches of ground clearance with this Huracan Sterrato. That gives it a little bit more off-road-esque specs to it with your approach angle and your departure angle. Underneath the whole vehicle, you have a ginormous skid plate to protect the underside of this off-road supercar. Now, as we coast in the front of it, you're actually gonna get these LED. It's very similar to what you'd find like on a truck with the rigid LED lights. LED driving lamps, extra lighting at the front. I'm surprised they were able to get away with this with DOT restrictions and pedestrian safety, because they're just bolted right on, just like the fender flares, with all the exposed screws. Of course, you got that iconic, the Italian Bull Lamborghini badge. So much history with that badge. And then in the front here, you'll see how you have the full functionality with that honeycomb finish. And then, like I said, the way they sculpted the front lower lip area is to help with approach angles and also to protect the underside with that skid plate, the metal skid plate that runs the full length of the vehicle. But let me know what you think about the front end. I think they did a really good job giving it the off-road credentials without making it look too kind of corny. I mean, it looks purposeful, it looks like it belongs. And one other thing to point out is, remember, this is gonna be the last of the Huracans. The next generation to replace this will be called something different, and it's gonna be a hybrid power plant. No more naturally aspirated V10. So this is the last, and if you want one of these like Michael got, this is one of 1,499, not 1,500, 1,499 examples are they making of the Sterrato. Now, as you go up onto that front mounted trunk area, you're gonna notice that you have the Stealth Fighter body lines. That's something that I've always loved about the modern Lamborghinis. You look at the Murcielago, you look at the Aventador, you look at the Huracan, very Stealth Fighter-esque. And then another thing with this color, this seems to be what you're finding on a lot of the factory Lamborghini race cars. So the Lamborghini that now races in IMSA WeatherTech GTP series and at Le Mans in the WE series, the World Endurance Championship series, this is the same color that those vehicles are running in. So now as we swing it around wide, because you got those fender flares, you're gonna find specific wheels and tires for this Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato. 19-inch forged aluminum wheel. I love the V-spoke design. You'll see behind there we have optional gloss black 6-piston Brembos with the Lamborghini name, and we have the carbon ceramic brake rotors. So you're gonna have a 2-piece rotor. These things are gonna stop on a lira and give everybody change. If you're wondering what's a lira, that's the money that they use in Italy. But anyways, large Italian pizza-sized rotors. Man, a pizza that big would be great to eat, because you're not gonna be hungry after. But loving the supercar specs on this with that carbon ceramic brake rotor. You are gonna have adaptive dampers, all 4 corners, adaptive suspension. And then you'll see for the first time, specifically designed by Bridgestone, we have these off-road spec tires. So not a ton of shielding on the side, but when we go down the rest of the vehicle, I'm gonna have Steven show you the tread pattern to let you see that it's got these thicker off-road blocks for tread, which is gonna hurt some of the performance on-road. But I think that you're gonna find that Lamborghini did a pretty darn good job with the balance of the performance. And if you're wondering, well, what's the size of the tire up front? 235 on the width, 40 series sidewall, and then there's that nice flared fender. Now coming down the side, I'll have Steven swing around to show off the tread blocks for the tires. Of course, we're gonna have the Sterrato name on the lower portion of the doors. And then I love that side skirt extension as we come towards the rear with functionality. This does have all-wheel drive. One thing that it does not have compared to, say, an STO or Performante, Huracan Performante, is this does not have rear-wheel steer. So they wanted this vehicle to be a little bit more lively at the rear. Yeah, this feels good. A little bit more lively at the rear when you're going off-road, so they got rid of the rear-wheel steer, because that's really meant to be for carving the corners like a champion. Without it, we're cutting some weight, and it's gonna liven up that rear end. Yeah, it feels, swing the hips. It's all in the hips. Come on over, let me show you what we got. Our roof rack on a Huracan. So these are the optional roof rails. I like the way they got the Sterrato name with the powder coating on it. And then Michael went ahead and added actual crossbars. He has a cargo box. You could put all sorts of stuff on here. Just gotta make sure it's not heavy. This will only support 80 pounds. So if you think you're gonna do some overlanding in this Sterrato, it's not gonna work unless you weigh less than 80 pounds. So no roof style tent. It's not gonna work. You're gonna have to put it on terra firma or the hard ground. These raised roof rails are around $1,200 option. Now, coming down the side, you do have your flush mounted door handles like you would find on other Huracans, but here's the big difference. No side fender vents for the engine. The reason why is that, guess what? The Lamborghini engineers discovered that when they were taking the Sterrato test mules off-road, they would just scoop tons and tons of dirt and sand into those side air intakes. So what you get is you get a roof-mounted air intake. Now on the Lamborghini STO, this just feeds air to the engine compartment. On the Sterrato, this actually feeds air to that naturally aspirated V10. So functional scoop. You also, of course, are gonna have some functionality right above where your fueler up. It's gonna be hard to see, but they actually put, and because the windows are tinted, but I'll tell you what I'm seeing, they actually put a number plate there and not inside where you could actually see it. So if you want to brag to somebody and be like, listen, I promise this is one of just 1,499, you could show them the badge there in the rear quarter window. Now coming down the side, you'll notice we have our LP610-4. That means we have our all-wheel drive. And then out back, we're still gonna get that same 19-inch wheel. So normally you would find like 20, 21, 19, 20. 19's all the way around. Carbon ceramic brake rotors. Look at those massive rear calipers, for Pete's sakes. You could actually see the rear suspension, how they did the suspension lift and all the work in there. Like I said, over 6 inches of ground clearance. And then if you're wondering, well, Joe, what's the size of the tire out back? Basically, you're looking at 285 on the width, 40 series sidewall. And like I said, no rear wheel steering. Now, as we come around the back, I love the lines on a Lamborghini. Nice and crisp. You got that rear fender flare. I'm telling you, it looks good, especially because the flat black, check out above the engine compartment. It's all flat black, especially with that scoop. And then as you're coming back, one of the things I like to see is you actually have the firing order for that V10, that naturally aspirated V10 underneath the engine cover there. And then working our way towards the back, just like up front, look at the freaking lighting. Beautiful LED lighting. They got all the aero, everything opened up. And then as we come across the center, you got your one exhaust on each side to let that V10 to scream to above 8,000 RPM. The famous Lamborghini script name. This is a rear spoiler. And then coming down, you'll notice how we have the diffuser area, but you also have, like I said, full protection, metal protection under the belly of this thing. But why don't we go ahead? This is the second off-road vehicle that Lamborghini has ever made. A Urus is not one of them. Urus is not meant to go off-road. It can, but it's not. It's not like a design specific for off-roading. The LM002 is, and so is this Sterrato. Let's see if we can open up this engine compartment and see that V10. All right, guys, we have the engine compartment lid in its up position. Look at this. Love all of the venting back here. And there is that naturally aspirated V10 twin throttle bodies. You can see how you have the scoop attaches here and is going to channel air into the twin throttle bodies. And then you got that bracing, that X brace in the back. But let's talk about power. Now, the sad news is this does have a little less horsepower than your standard Huracan, Performante, or STO. This has still a 5.2 liter naturally aspirated V10, 602 horsepower though. You're still getting 602 horsepower. That is 29 horsepower less than an STO. Still the same amount of torque, 413 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to a 7-speed DCT. You have the Haldex all-wheel drive system. It redlines, the V10 redlines at a glorious 8,500 RPM. 0 to 60 in about 3.3 seconds. And because of those off-road spec tires, you're gonna be topping out speed-wise at 168 miles per hour. Now, if you really care about MPGs, you need to go get yourself a Prius. This is not the car for you. But I am gonna tell you anyways. 12 in the city, 17 on the highway. The vehicle dry, that means with no fluids, including fuel, weighs 3,241 pounds. And like I was saying, you have 6.4 inches of ground clearance, and the car is an inch wider, both at the front and the rear end of this vehicle. Nice to be able to see the engine, but what I would like to do, it's one thing to look at this car. When you have a Lamborghini, you got to use these. You got to use your ears to hear the glorious sound. So why don't we fire up Michael's Huracan Sterrato and hear it scream. All right, guys, we are inside Michael's 2024 Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato. Now, it's interesting because there's not a lot of competition, of course, for this car. The main competition would be a Porsche 911 Dakar, and depending on how you option that 911 Dakar, you're looking at over $300,000. This particular car, base, has an MSRP of $273,000. And I know what you're saying. Well, Joe, I don't want to wait for the lottery to get this car. I'm just going to sell off all my stocks, my bonds, cash out my 401k. I might even have to sell my house, but I want one of these. What is the price at the end of the day? So MSRP, $273,000. You're looking at $14,000 for the Verde paint job. You're looking at $6,000 for the carbon fiber door panels that I'm going to show you. $1,200 for the roof rails, plus a few other things. So you're easily looking at over $300,000. So my advice is don't do what you're thinking about doing by cashing out your 401k and selling your house. Although it would be cool to live in this Lamborghini Huracan. But why don't we go ahead, let's see what you're getting for the money to the door panels. Optional carbon fiber drive weave door panels. Cuts the weight down, minimalistic, no door pockets, no cup holders. You have a bright red tether to open up the door and a door handle that is Alcantara with carbon fiber on it. Going from the trimmed down door panel to the dash, the AC vents have the same shape as the driving lights that have been added up front. I kind of like that touch, and I don't think a lot of people notice that. You got the bright green stitching. You'll see the shadow of Speed Quest. That's one of Michael's companies that he owns. The Lamborghini name. My one zonk though, I want carbon fiber up here. I don't want the gloss black. I want this to be carbon fiber, but you got Alcantara carbon fiber monocoque. So the frame that we're sitting in is full carbon fiber. You slide on in. I like the way there's no infotainment system up top. You have these really killer toggle switches. shut the traction control off, all those types of things. Open up the windows. And then you are gonna get a dated infotainment system screen. So this is a little over 8 inches, portrait style. You could tell by the graphics on it, this is the older system. A little slow on operation, but you know what? It gets the job done. I like the way you could pull up all your auxiliary gauges. Very, very cool inside this Huracan Sterrato to have all these different gauges and readouts. When you put the car into reverse, it doesn't show up here. It shows up on the dash. So I'll show you that when we get to that point. But I love all the different lighting you could do, turn everything on, and then you're right back to home. We could even get into telemetry, which is really cool, but we're not moving right now. We're parked, so there's not much telemetry. Now this guy right here is where you're gonna flip this up to start and stop the V10. The funny thing is that if you don't like doing this extra step, what you could do is just put your finger right through the hole. So if you don't mind going like this, then you could start and stop without lifting this up. But if you wanna feel like Maverick from Top Gun, light them up. Not a big fan of the gloss black. I wish that was carbon fiber. This is how you work the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. So this is reverse. You lift up. You want park, you push the P, and then to actually go into drive, you pull the right paddle. That sends you into drive. This thing here is meant to just hold your phone. It's not a wireless charging. There isn't any wireless charging in here, which I don't know how you feel about that. Let me know if you would zonk it. But the Alcantara, you got a little bit of a cubby here for some Jolly Ranchers. You got a 12 volt, you got your USBs, and then you'll notice the freaking race seats in here. Carbon fiber, the Lamborghini embroidery, the piping, nice bolstering. And then you'll notice that these are manual seat controls. To slide it, you actually pull up in the center here, in between your legs. Instead of playing with yourself, you actually just pull this up and you slide the seat. And then of course, for an additional 10 horsepower, yes, I said it correctly, 10 horsepower, you have the bright green seat belts. But why don't you come over here? I'm wrapped in Alcantara. I want to show you behind the wheel of this Lamborghini. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. You do have this Huracan aluminum sill plate, and then that pedal box, golly, right out of a race car. Aluminum dead pedal, brake pedal, and throttle, and your feet are going to be surrounded by carbon fiber. He even has the carbon fiber optional floor mats to match the carbon fiber. Manual seat controls, like I said, it's crazy. These seats are actually quite comfortable. Once you get in, the bolstering, if you notice, look how flexible it is. It's not very stiff to where it's going to hurt getting in and out. And once you get in, it feels good. Of course, manual seat controls, I'm okay with that because once you set it, you're going to be fine. Steering wheel, the leather, the green stitching. This should be carbon fiber. This should not be gloss black on a $300,000 car. You got your different modes, Strata, which is street, sport, and then rally. That is obviously the mode that is specific to the Sterrato. All the switch gear is flat black, no stock sticking out. You do your windshield wipers on the driver's side of the wheel. You do your turn signals on the driver's side of the wheel. Wipers are on the passenger side of the wheel, and then you have these ginormous metal paddles to go up and down the 7-speed that are bolted to the steering column. So no matter where you are, you'll always be able to hit those paddles perfect. And then you got your digital gauge cluster, which this is your standard street view. If I go into sport or rally, that's what you get with the tack that goes across the top, which is really cool. And then rally, everything turns red. Now, one thing I want to show you is when you go into reverse, there's your backup camera. Very grainy and not the largest view. And it's good that you have it there because guess what? You have a rear view mirror, but you can't see jack squat out the back. I could sort of see a little bit on the left and the right of where that roof scoop is, but other than that, you don't see anything. I'm not showing you the frunk. Who really gives a damn? But if you're ready, I'm ready. So let's go ahead, let's buckle in and go on throttle in Michael's Lamborghini. All right, guys, we are inside Michael's 2024 Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato. I don't know if you can tell, but over my back, you can't see jack. You gotta use the side mirrors, those beautiful dry weave carbon fiber mirrors. Nice to have them because that's the only way you're seeing out the back. Unless you go in reverse and then you get that grainy image of the backup camera on the dash. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's have a little bit of Sterrato fun on some of these little back roads that I found. Are you ready? Because I'm definitely ready. On throw, here we go. Yeah! The power delivery, so smooth. Look at this. Quick downshifts. Yeah! Those carbon ceramic brake rotors. And remember, we're on off-road, all-terrain spec tires. On throttle! Woo! I tell you, this car, I'll be honest with you, I was excited about it, but you know, I always felt like if I was gonna get a Lamborghini that it would be one that I've always dreamed of. So it's interesting to be in a Huracan that is meant for off-roading, because I didn't think that this was a good idea, but once you get behind the wheel, it is a ton of fun. I love the adaptive suspension, especially the way it lets the body move around just a little bit more because it is off-road spec, of course. And with the off-road tires, you're definitely getting some movement there from all the tread blocks because them not being super grippy supercar spec tires. These are meant for going off-road and on-road, but I think it just makes the driving experience more fun, if you could believe that. Love the dash, super clear to read. Everything is laid out so well. I feel like Cinderella. I feel like this is the glass slipper that was made for me, and now I get to take it home. But in reality, I have to take it back to Michael's house. But let's go on throttle again. All-wheel drive. On throttle, here we go. Those carbon ceramic brake rotors doing their thing. The pops, the bangs. Woo! Look at this. You're able to attack the corners and just get a little bit of slide out of the back. Nice. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I never thought I would want one of these. It's pretty freaking impressive. It's pretty freaking impressive. It's fun to drive. But I think for me, it's the scream of the 5.2 liter naturally aspirated V10. Are you ready? On throw, here we go. The pops, the bangs. Yeah! Look at this. God, this thing is a freaking blast. I absolutely love this car. Michael, oh Michael, thank you very, very much. And this is what's great about what I do, is I could have an idea of how I'm gonna like something, and then I go into it and I actually get behind the wheel and it changes how I feel about it. That's why I say it's one thing to read it in a magazine or even watching your Rady's rides. I try to bring you the pure driving enjoyment as much as I can in being realistic, you know, not faking it, doing the real thing. That's why I say a lot of these cars that I enjoy driving, you need to get behind the wheel. I'm thinking in particular, and I know it sounds crazy to be thinking about this car, but I'm thinking Mazda Miata, Subaru BRZ. Until you get behind the wheel, you don't know how good it is. It's the same thing with this car. I would have never thought in a million years that this would be a Lamborghini that I would want to own. Never. But after getting behind the wheel, I freaking want one. I might have to sell Steven to get one of these. I'll sell him to some illegal market or something. Are you ready? On throttle! Glorious. Quick downshifts. Look at this, look at this. Really, really nice. And it handles the bumps in the road really well. Yeah! It is a raging bull. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Freaking A, man. Freaking A. This is one hell of a car. One hell of a car. Look at this. It just, the sound, everything. It just, it's perfect. And if you like attention, you're gonna get tons of it, especially in this paint job. $14,000 paint job. Of course, you're hearing the radar detector doing its thing. I highly recommend getting one, and I personally love the Valentine one. Wow. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. It's incredible that once you get on a road that doesn't have a bunch of dust on it because of not many vehicles driving on it, it does have some pretty good grip. And I like the fact that you don't have rear wheel steer because you're able to work around with the rear of the car a lot more playfully than if it did have the rear wheel steer. But like I said, if you want to see anything behind you, forget about it. We do have the optional $1,000 fire extinguisher in here, so that's good. But that's just another option, another cost. The pops and the bangs are where it's at. That is where it is at. Love the sound. I'm gonna hear this car in my dreams tonight. I'm gonna hear it in my dreams. How is this car even legal? How is it even legal? I don't even know. Yeah! Get that back end around. She freaking loves it. Little radar detector action happening. That's all right. That's all right. What a special, special, special experience. I'm so glad to be able to share with you. Here we go. On throttle! I love the way the car moves around. Look at this. Nice. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed being on this ride with me. I've enjoyed having you, but we need to get back to where it all started, or I'm gonna get myself into some big freaking trouble. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys. It's been one hell of a day out here with Michael's 2024 Lamborghini Sterrato. I definitely want to thank him because he just threw me the key fob and said, go do what you got to do. You're a professional. So definitely we got to thank Michael in that comment section, especially because he is a prominent car collector here in the Tampa Bay area. But let me know what you think. You saw the ins and outs of what makes this Huracan Sterrato special. Is it the king of supercars? Let me know what you think in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raised Rides family. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for Stephen Flood Photography, working that camera like a champ. He's got his special Lamborghini hat on. Show him some love in the comment section. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you're doing. Just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.